One of the key things that we're hearing from the AI sphere is that AI is going to replace all of us, it's going to displace us from our own jobs. And that really begs the question, so what's going to happen? How are we going to live? We are in a society where you literally need money to survive. It's not something that's optional, it's something that has become a need. If you want to engage in hobbies, you need to have money to access those hobbies. Especially if you live in a country where public spaces like parks are becoming privatized, you need to pay to get there. The majority of the people, they get that money from working, from jobs. But if AI is going to be taking your job, well, what's going to happen to you? Because where are you going to get the money? There's so many people who have this theory that, governments are going to start giving their citizens universal basic income. In an ideal world, that would happen, but we don't live in an ideal world. I spend a lot of time studying the systems, foundational systems of this world, amongst them being capitalism and patriarchy. My goodness, yeah, it is nice to think that we're going to get universal basic income, but when you study the patterns, when you study the systems, that is not very likely to happen. And I actually do have a theory that is not quite a fun one, because I hope that it doesn't come to pass, but it looks like it's already happening. The theory is based on this universal basic income. Yes, it is possible that we would get to a point where governments would be giving this to its citizens, but it's not going to be free. Because if we look at the systems like patriarchy and capitalism, okay, let's start with capitalism. It's all about ensuring that it gets profit out of everything. Under capitalism, there's nothing that is going to be given for free. There has to be profit on that. And then when you add the layer of patriarchy, which basically is in many countries in this world, some of its driving tenets are greed and inequality, hunger for power. There's also competitiveness, and not in the sense of really trying to push people to be good at something, but in the sense of just ensuring this one person who gets to benefit from everything. So you bring all of that together, the patriarchy, the tenets of patriarchy and capitalism, what you have is a cannibalistic society that has been created for only very few people to benefit from everything. So when you're coming with this idea of universal basic income, it's pretty naive when you really look at the realities of the world that we have. And when you look at the key drivers of advancements right now, it's artificial intelligence, and a lot of it is generative AI is dependent on people's data, and they want to actually access your private data. And at the end of the day, these organizations, companies are not going to be able to do it on their own, so they will need governments to help them to have this access to people's data without really paying for it. The governments are going to support them because a lot of people in government also want to win, they want to own everything, they want to have power. So yes, it is in their interest to support these AI companies and organizations that want to have access to everything about you, because then they can have access to that data and they can use it to promote their agenda without you even knowing, because everything is just going to be tailored in a way that really attracts you because they know everything about you. But of course, a lot of people are not going to allow this. Who is just going to allow a company to have access to their data just for free? You're not gaining anything, but the company is gaining everything because they're taking your data and then they're using that data to sell things to you. But the same AI is taking your job, so you're gaining nothing. So a lot of people are not going to agree to this. And so the governments are going to step in and be like, oh yeah, we're going to offer you universal basic income, but people that get the UBI are the people that give complete unfettered access to their private data. It's the age of surveillance capitalism. And unfortunately, this is something that we're starting to see, but we don't have that aspect of the UBI. As more people lose jobs, it means that a lot more people are going to be insecure, they're going to be fearful, they're going to be desperate. That is not going to be very good for governments, because if you study history, you know very well that's the complete recipe for revolutions. And these people in power do not want that, but they do know that they can do something that is going to make a lot of people feel a sense of relief. The idea of universal basic income. So if, for example, you get $500, $1,000 a month, you would be able to eat at least one meal a day. Of course, there will be some people who will be like, this is not enough. But you know what? Majority of the people are always easily swayed, and most of them will come to this time over time and be like, oh, at least we are getting something. At least, the at least mentality. That's one of the reasons why we have so many problems that never really get resolved, because you just need to do something so minute, and majority of the people are like, At least they're doing something about it. I mean, when you look at careers right now, when you're applying for a job, the moment they started using AI to read CVs, that should have been the moment that people pushed back on it. But because nobody pushed back on it, we've now gotten to a point where you're expected to have a thriving presence on LinkedIn for you to get a job. Like, it's not enough for you to have a CV now. No, it's not enough for you to get a degree. You also need to be a content creator on LinkedIn. It's not in the mainstream yet, but it's just a matter of time before everyone that is applying for a job is expected to be a content creator on LinkedIn. And you could say that, oh, you could opt out of it, but what are you really going to do? When you don't have a job, you don't have a source of income, when you can't pay your rent, when you can't even feed yourself, are you going to still say that you care about your private data? Are you really going to care about it? It's really easy to say that you're going to fight it, but it's not easy because, again, these foundational systems of the world that we are in, they've been there for a very long time. And even the way a lot of people are brought up, it's in a way that makes them really easy to brainwash. A lot of people cannot stand up to the systems because a lot of people cannot stand up to power. And you know that a lot of people cannot stand up to power because a lot of people cannot stand up to their own parents. And I did see there's a book about techno-feudalism, and this is about how a few billionaires are literally owning all these technology platforms that everyone else is going to be forced to be on for them to literally have a chance at life. And everyone being on this technology platform, and then the government coming in and being like, it's not enough to just be on these platforms, you also need to verify your identity using your government ID. And that's the perfect way of being surveilled. And everything you post, the night thoughts that you think, oh, I'm just posting it and it's harmless, all of a sudden that is being used to measure how much of the UBI you qualify for. This is actually giving Black Mirror vibes. Unfortunately, it's where we're headed. And of course, I'm hoping that techno-feudalism and surveillance capitalism doesn't become our new reality, but as things stand, that is the new reality that we're gonna have to contend with. It's actually not fun at all to think about this. My obsession with studying how business, marketing, and society come together has led me to be thinking about things like this. At times I ask myself, what's the solution? It's going to be individual, really. You have to start with the individuals. It's all about how you're interacting with the world, things that you're giving your time and energy into. I mean, we've seen over and over that a lot of people do not really care about inequality, discrimination, about greed for power if it doesn't affect them. They only start caring when they start getting affected by those things, but by then it's too late. My goodness, it's so noisy. When did motorbikes be this noisy?